Okay, so the new axle has a different position post for the shock absorber, which may or may not be needed according to all online sources, including Dexter. But the actual mounting place for the shock absorber is about 4 inches forward compared to the old one. So that makes this bump stop in the way of it getting up to the top connection. So at this point, I think the only logical thing to do is to cut that. So that's my next plan. The other thing I don't like is that you have to mount it from that side versus the old one where it went on the other way. So in the future, should anybody have to change the shock absorber on this, the axle will have to be dropped. I don't see any other way of getting around it without cutting this, repositioning it, turning it, re-welding it, which I could do, but boy, that doesn't seem like an easy or even really the realistic thing to do. So we're going to remove this bump stop and see how that goes. Bump stop number 1 gone. Thank goodness for carbide blades and sawzalls. Stop number 2 on the chopping block. Got some oil. Always important to keep it lubricated and cooled with some oil. So it only takes 5-6 minutes with a good carbide blade. Well worth the investment. And done. That should allow the shocks to get past the... should allow the shocks to connect from top to bottom. So the frame got cut, the axle got installed, the bump stop was removed, shock absorbers now installed, and we've moved on to new and exciting complications. In a classic case of project creep, the electric brake cables have some cracks in them, and when testing, they were intermittent. So I'm going to replace the e-brake wire, which runs up to the front into this mess of wire, which is the original umbilical cord for the Airstream, but it ties into this wire, which was the original plug from 1965, which runs through the frame and then out the front here, and someone has spliced in a more modern 7-pin connector. So I'm going to replace the entire 7-pin connector with a 16-foot long one, and I'm going to reroute and replace all these wires, and they're going to be routed underneath the gaucho and behind the refrigerator inside, where they are accessible in the future. Probably not by me, but some poor schmo in 2050 might want to deal with this. So I'm getting all the wires out from underneath, or as many as I can, and gonna move them inside where they will be fixable sometime. At long last, we've got the insulation, axle, and underbelly installed. Long project, well worth it.